This is the Real Estate Talk Show with Simon Giannini and Aaron McCoy on Talk Radio AM 640.
Well, as always, we have fantastic guests, Simon. Really excited. We've got Lee Milbury from Real Pro Canada. She's here to give us insight in the Markham real estate market. We also have Barbara Bryan, who's a home stager and interior design expert, so you know how much I love that.
Welcome back. This is the Real Estate Talk Show right here on AM 640, your source for all things real estate. It's now time for Interview with an Expert.
I'm excited about our next guest, Simon. We have Barbara Bryan here to talk about home staging and interior design. Welcome to the show, Barbara.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Simon. It's my pleasure to be here.
All right. I love design. As you well know, we talked a little bit here before you came into studio. So I would love to talk about, first of all, how you got into it and what exactly you do.
Okay, I would say I probably got into it, I guess, from the time I was really little. I was always running around following my mother. I was about 4 years old, and my mom used to paint out apartments because we owned apartment buildings.
Oh, okay.
So it was probably the stepping stone. But I come from a family of artists and designers, and so placement and color, especially color, it's always been the forefront of my mind and my life. I'd say probably about 10 years ago, I decided I wanted to leave the corporate world behind. And I started fixing homes, putting them on the market, getting great results, working for realtors and asking realtors, say, you know, what makes a home sing? What's really important when you're selling a home? And the feedback from the realtors was that it's all in the detail. It's making sure that you cover everything within a house. And Aaron, sometimes I realize homeowners don't always have that availability of time frame.
Of course.
But if you look at the big picture of a house and you look at the house from the beginning to the very end of the house, you see that there are certain things that stand out in your mind. If you think of a diamond, you look at the walls, the ceiling, the opposite wall, and then the floor. And that composes the diamond. And if there are flaws within that diamond, you know you're not going to get a perfect sale. For example, say there's cracks in the roof, you need plaster repair, perhaps the color is dated. Anything in a color, for example, in a home, if it's older than 3 years, it's probably on its way out, and you need to reconsider the paint job.
Freshen it up, sure.
And freshen it up for the market. Floors are another key thing. Most home buyers will want hardwood floors. A lot of people, they put down carpet, and they could be hiding beautiful oak flooring
that are already there.
And it's already there. We do a lot of estate sales, and one of the first things we do when we go into those types of projects is, if there's carpeting everywhere, is to peel off a little bit of the carpeting and see what's underneath. And 90% of the time, you've got a real gem.
And that's the thing. I always call them the hidden surprises that people just don't bother to check.
Oh,
now, you can also get those other surprises you and I both know that aren't so good.
Yes.
Those are the ones that we don't want, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit, because this is a topic that, you know, it's something that we say all the time. You have to get your home ready for sale. What is the first thing you can suggest to somebody that is thinking of putting their home on the market? What's the first thing in the top of your mind that you can tell somebody to do to get ready?
First thing, when I come through a home, I go with the homeowner through a home, and I go through a whole process, of course, and I ask the homeowner to identify to me what they think are the things that won't sell the home, because a lot of times when you live in a home, Aaron, you know, and I'm sure you know this personally too, you walk into a certain room and there's something that just stands out in your mind, and it's just eating away, and you say, now's the time I'm
to deal with it. Sure. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know,
not when you've been living in it for 15, 20 years.
But now that you're selling it, and you say, I want to change up that wall sconce, or I want to change that chandelier, or that table over there is just bugging me, and I hate that desk that, my father-in-law gave me, or something, whatever. So the very first thing is to declutter.
Okay. And I'm in full agreement with you.
And a lot of times, because depending on the homeowner, where they're at, I mean, if it's a homeowner who's only owned a home for, say, perhaps 3 to 5 years, right, they're obviously not going to have accumulated as many possessions as someone who's been in their home for 30 to 40 years.
Right.
So let's look at the 30 to 40 year, because that's probably the area where, if the homeowner has many goods, sometimes they're going to be at a loss for figuring out, how do I get rid of this?
Sure.
So what I suggest to people is that you have 3 mindsets. One is to dispose things that you really know that you don't want, so you get either the junk removal people to take it away,
or a lot of times, charity or women's shelters. I mean, a lot of
exactly, and that's the second pile. That's the giveaways. That's the charities. That's even the fundraisers. That's also, you try to sell something to pick up a few dollars, because sometimes there's something that came down the line and you've inherited it and you've been hanging on to this.
You just can't part with it.
You can't part with it, but say it's precious. It could be a neoclassical wall console, and you want to, you know it's worth something.
Sure.
So put it in the consignment shops.
What's the third one then?
And then the third one is what you're keeping and what you want to take with you, because you're either downsizing or you're moving to a bigger home. And if you're downsizing, that's where it gets tricky. People, many times, they will fall in love with furniture without checking to see whether it's going to fit in the new location. And of course, the other side of that is they don't know what the new location is. So
I love your
keep that 7-foot sofa.
Sure. I love your 3-pile approach. I think that's a fantastic tip for our listeners. So let's go back a little bit, because again, you do not only staging, but you do also interior design. So
correct.
Explain the difference between the two.
The difference between the two, specifically, homeowners will say to me, well, how am I going to live in a staged house? And I think what's really important is to remember that how we sell and how we live are really very different.
Valid point.
When you live in a house, you put things in specific corners and nooks. It may be that pile of newspaper in your office. It
Right.
could be like me. I have piles and piles of files all over the floor, and nobody can see me. In fact, it would be embarrassing if you came to my home and said, "This is how a stager lives." Okay, so. Moving aside from me, though, when people want to sell their home, the best thing after you've decluttered is to determine, are my pieces of furniture, are they going to be substantial enough to get through the sale? Because we're selling lifestyle. We're selling dreams to people. We want somebody to walk in your home, and we want them to fall in love with the ambience. And ambience is all about, it's the color, the texture. It's the...
You want to create a wow factor when somebody walks in.
Yeah, we create the wow factor. We look at the 5 principal rooms in anybody's house. And this rule...
So what are those 5 principal rooms?
The 5 principal rooms are the living room, the dining room, the kitchen, the master bedroom, and the master ensuite. And those rooms have to sing. Secondary to that would be the family room. And then, of course, moving off into, say, if you had a library, a study, an office, or a den.
Okay. Now, you also were recently in San Francisco.
Yes.
So what were you doing there?
I know, jet lag.
I have to tease here, but besides the jet lag, what were you doing?
Okay. The RESA convention, Real Estate Staging Association convention, happens annually. And that was just a couple of days ago was the end of it. I was down there for a recognition for being best top 10 category in North America for occupied staging.
Fantastic.
And also last week, I know that's fantastic, but also we won another award. We won a local award again for Toronto for Home Stars as being best staging company in Toronto.
Well, congratulations, because
Thank you.
what's evident is you love what you do. I mean, it just comes through. You're passionate about it. So even at 4 years of age, when I guess you got the bug, it hasn't left you, have it? Like that's wonderful. Okay, well, how about let's do this. I actually have some questions from our listeners. They go on the realestatetalkshow.ca website. And sometimes there's questions that many of our listeners ask. So I kind of pile them together. One of them, and I think it's a valid one, is Doug was asking about painting the trim or baseboard or moldings the same color as the wall color. He's asking, is that something that's still in? And what do you suggest?
Trends are made and broken, and there's always, it's like the English language. There's always a rule to be broken, Erin. So I know that a lot of people are dissuaded from painting the same color. What I highly recommend is that if you want to paint the same color, is to use a satin finish on the trim. Use a flat on the wall.
Right. So there's a distinct little difference there.
Yes.
Okay.
Although the color will be the same, the sheen is quite different. Flat gives you that full resolution of color, whereas the sheen on the satin will make it appear a bit lighter. So it will stand out, definitely.
That's a very good point. And again, as you said, there are some great trends, but we know that in when you're talking interior design, sometimes those trends can be very expensive when you jump on it.
Yes, yes.
to fix and rectify. So I think that's a valid point. Another one is, Janet was asking, how high should you hang your prints and your pictures? I think that's a great one.
The secret of the eye. This is a trick of the trade. Okay. Generally, general rule of thumb is this. When we hang for a living, the painting should be 60 inches on center of the wall, but that's the center of the painting. So it's
eye level. Is that kind of a good gauge?
It's really the eye rests. Now, bearing that in mind, Erin, I don't know how tall you are, but I'm a shorty.
Oh, I wish me too. So wanted to be tall.
No,
Didn't happen.
I'm 5'4". So if I hung everything to my eye center of wall,
right?
It's probably it's going to be like 48 inches.
Okay, so
it's also dependent on the height of the ceilings. Most of the newer houses, they come with at least 9 to 10 foot ceilings.
Good point.
A 60s to 70s house built, it's probably hanging in there around 7.5 to 8 feet. And at 7.5 to 8 feet, that 60 inches looks great. But when you get into anything above 10 feet, if you're hanging it at 60 inches,
it looks ridiculous.
It's going to look
all right.
ridiculous.
Well, let's go on to this one then, because Alicia was asking about dining room chandeliers. What's the rule in terms of hanging a dining room chandelier?
When you hang a dining room chandelier, generally speaking, it should be 30 to 36 off the table. However, once again, if you're in a newer built home and you have a much higher ceiling, a 10 to 12, 30 inches off of the table is going to look ridiculous.
So again, it really depends on the room,
it
the
depends
ceiling
on the
height,
room, and it depends what's going in
and the
that
chandelier
room. Behind that chandelier.
Yeah.
If you have plans on the wall immediately behind the chandelier for a big, huge landscape format painting, then you have to reconsider the height of the chandelier.
And also the style of it, I'm sure has a big impact too. Well, I love your insight. We'll have to have you for sure come back. You're a delight.
Thank
and more
you.
importantly,
I would enjoy to.
I congratulate you on your awards.
Thank you. I'm so happy with it.
And you should be. That's fantastic. So again, thank you for everything, and we'll see you next time.
Just a reminder, we do our best each and every week to get you the inside scoop on what's really going on, and we do interview the best of the best in the industry, but life can get in the way. So if you've missed any segments, you can listen to our show online at realestatetalkshow.ca, where you can also get lots of useful information for buying, selling, or investing in real estate. And if you have any question about any real estate topic, you can also submit that online at our website or call our help center at 416-366-9090, and we'll help you get the answers you're looking for. Don't forget, you can also follow our show on Twitter at Real Talk Show.
That's it for our show this week. Don't forget to tune in every Saturday at 6 p.m. right here on Talk Radio AM 640. Until next time, have a great weekend, everyone.